And then she came to the Messenger of Allah and said, "O Messenger of Allah, I'm such an old woman. Can an old woman enter into paradise?" He said, "No." Oh, her heart was broken. She was so sad. "Why not, O Messenger of Allah?" "Because there are no old women in paradise." Oh, now she's ready to weep. There are no old women in paradise. And then he smiled. That beautiful smile of innocence which can only come on the lips when the heart is pure and clean. And he said, "Allah will cause you to become a young girl once again." And so in paradise you do not grow old. The biological being grows old. But in paradise you do not grow old. And so we speak therefore of the spiritual being as the one that enters into paradise. And so when Adam alayhi salam and his wife Hawa were put to live in paradise, they lived in paradise in a spiritual state and not a biological state. However, they still had the same physical features, and because they were a man and a woman, they were able to enjoy the joys of gender, the bond between the male and the female. They were able to enjoy that in paradise. And so our first important observation that we have to make in this lecture is that what today is referred to as the sexual life is not a life that is limited to the biological being. No. It also belongs to the spiritual life. That is a very important way to start the lecture, because we live in an age of materialism which denies the woman any reality beyond her material reality. She's just flesh and blood. And so when you turn to her without recognizing anything beyond her material being, you simply turn to her for the satisfaction of your biological needs. And once the biological needs are satisfied, that's it. You can turn to another one now. When a man turns to a woman in a purely material context, it is inevitable that at the end of the day, lust will take over the sexual relationship. And lust destroys the happiness that gender is supposed to deliver. When Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said to Adam alayhi salam, "Uskun anta wa zawjuka al-jannah," you and your wife live in heaven in a state of sukoon. It meant that the bond of the male and the female in heaven was not a bond of physical bodies, because the physical body belongs to over here. The bond between the male and the female was ultimately and most importantly of all a bond of the heart. Uskun anta wa zawjuka al-jannah. And so when a man and a woman come together in marriage, although it may not happen at the beginning, ultimately, the objective of marriage is to bring the two hearts together in a bond. And now we can go to that beautiful ayah of Surah Al-Rum. وَمِنْ آيَاتِهِ أَنْ خَلَقَ لَكُمْ مِنْ أَنفُسِكُمْ أَزْوَاجًا لِتَسْكُنُوا إِلَيْهَا وَجَعَلَ بَيْنَكُمْ مَوَدَّةً وَرَحْمَةً إِنَّ فِي ذَلِكَ لَآيَاتٍ لِقَوْمٍ يَتَفَكَّرُونَ. Here, says Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, here is a page of the big book which you must read. A people who will read must read this page of this book. Which page is it? And amongst the pages of the big book is this. Amongst the signs of Allah, the ayat of Allah is this. That He created for you from your very beings, He created your mate, your spouse. This has already been told at the beginning of Surah An-Nisa, that from the first male, He created the female. That amongst His signs is this, that from within your own selves He created your mates. And so for the male, He created the female. And for the female, He created the male. Why? What is the most important fruit of gender? لِتَسْكُنُوا إِلَيْهَا. The most important fruit of all of gender and of marriage is this. لِتَسْكُنُوا إِلَيْهَا. That you might dwell together in a state of sukoon. Sukoon is peace, sukoon is contentment, sukoon is tranquility. And so if you live with a man in your life, or you live with a woman in your life, and you do not have sukoon, and you cannot get sukoon, then you will live in a void, you will live in a vacuum, you will live discontented, you will live restless, you wouldn't know what to do. Because you need sukoon. It is the most important fruit of all. It is the ultimate fruit of the bond of the male and the female. Sukoon. I am fond of saying that there are things in life which money cannot buy. One of them is sukoon. How is sukoon achieved? What is the path to sukoon? Allah speaks in the ayah and He says, وَجَعَلَ بَيْنَكُمْ مَوَدَّةً وَرَحْمَةً. And He has placed betwixt your hearts, in parenthesis, your hearts, He has placed love and kindness. And so here once again we have a reconfirmation that at the very heart of the bond of the male and the female is the bond of the heart. And the bond of the heart is not possible without love. And that love does not come from the marketplace. It cannot be bought and sold. It is not a secular entity. It is sacred. It comes from Allah. He is Ar-Rahman, the God of compassion. He is Ar-Rahim, the God of mercy. He is Al-Wadud, the God of love. He is as-salam.